By the time the rain finally slowed, her socks had already gone stiff in her shoes, soaked so long they'd started to feel more like paper than fabric. Cars hissed by in streaks of silver spray, their headlights smearing across the wet pavement like ghosts in a hurry. People passed, too, an endless stream of umbrellas, coats, and hurried footsteps, but not one of them stopped. A few glanced sideways, the kind of glance that registers trouble but moves on anyway. A little girl at a bus stop crying. In a town like Oak Ridge, Oregon, that could be anything, and nothing at all. Sadie Quinn sat on the edge of the cold metal bench at the corner of Cypress and 6th, her knees pulled up tight, a battered school backpack wedged between her ankles like an anchor. Her tangled brown hair stuck to her cheeks, her jacket 3 sizes too big and dripping. In her small hands, she clutched a crumpled piece of paper, the only thing she'd remembered to grab when she'd climbed out the window that morning. It had her grandmother's old address scribbled in purple ink, half faded now from rain and the heat of her grip. That house wasn't hers anymore. It hadn't been for 2 weeks. Not since the day the social worker with the red folder and quiet voice told her that Nana had gone in her sleep. That morning, Sadie had watched from the living room as strangers packed up Nana's lace curtains and kitchen magnets into cardboard boxes. They never even asked if she wanted to keep anything. Just sent her off to a new family in a brown van with tinted windows and a promise that things would settle down soon. They didn't. This morning, after another breakfast spent in silence and another afternoon ignored in the backseat of her foster mother's minivan, Sadie had taken her chance. No one noticed when she slipped out through the side gate after school. No one followed when she walked 10 blocks in the wrong direction. Her heart pinned to a hope that maybe, just maybe, the door at 142 Meadow Lane would still open the way it used to. But it didn't. A man she didn't know opened it halfway, glanced at her soaked clothes and trembling voice, then said flatly, "They moved. Don't know where." The door clicked shut before she could ask anything else. So now she sat, waiting. For what, she didn't even know. All she knew was that Nana had always waited here when school let out, rain or shine, always with a smile and 2 small mittens in her bag. She remembered the way Nana would pat the bench with her gloved hand, like it was their sacred place. Sadie was still there, cold, invisible, and aching when the sound came. Not footsteps, not tires, a different rhythm, a soft tapping of claws on sidewalk, steady and deliberate, like a drumbeat wrapped in fur. She looked up, and there he was, a German shepherd, tall and soaked to the bone, his coat matted with rain, tail low but not tucked. His face was scarred on one side, and a thin leather collar clung to his neck by a single frayed thread. He wasn't panting, he wasn't begging, he just looked at her, head tilted, ears half-cocked, and then, in a slow motion so intentional it felt rehearsed, he sat down directly in front of her, guarding her, watching. Sadie's breath hitched, her tears slowed, not stopped, just paused, because for the first time since she left school, someone had actually noticed. The dog didn't move. A few minutes passed, maybe more. The wind carried the faint sound of a siren in the distance. Down the block, the glow of a patrol car grew brighter as it approached. Officer Jake Rylan drove his usual evening route in silence, the heater humming low and a lukewarm coffee sitting untouched in his cup holder. Rain blurred the windshield, and the wipers squeaked just a beat too slow. He wasn't expecting anything on Cypress. He never was. But the moment he saw the shape of the girl and the outline of the dog beside her, something in him snapped alert. He pulled over. Jake had been in law enforcement for nearly 15 years. He'd seen runaways. He'd seen dogs, but rarely had he seen the kind of stillness that radiated from the pair in front of him, like they were pieces of the same story, just waiting for someone to turn the next page. He stepped out of the cruiser. The dog's reaction was immediate, not aggressive, not wild, but defensive. The German Shepherd stood, placed himself squarely in front of the bench, and released a low, vibrating growl, not of threat, but warning. Jake stopped mid-step. His gaze dropped to the dog's collar, the frayed edge of it flapping in the wind. A nameplate, half rusted, caught the light. Major. Jake's heart stopped. He remembered the notice. 6 months ago. A retired K-9 named Major went missing after his handler, Captain Derek Fulton, passed away from pancreatic cancer. There'd been searches, flyers, even a segment on the local news, but Major had vanished. Some said he ran off in grief. Others said he'd gone looking for something, or someone. Now Jake was staring at him, and Major was standing between a little girl and the world like a ghost come back for one last mission. The girl spoke then, just 3 words, barely above a whisper. "He's my dog." Jake met her eyes, big, brown, full of tears that hadn't quite fallen yet. She looked like she'd held her breath for years. He didn't ask if it was true. He just nodded. Major slowly turned his head, looked up at Jake, and then, like some invisible command had been given, lowered himself to the wet sidewalk again, curling his body against the side of the bench. Jake radioed in, his voice quiet. "This is Rylan. I've got a situation at Cypress and 6th. 1 minor, female, no injury, possible runaway. I'll handle transport myself." He didn't say anything about the dog. As he knelt beside the girl, Jake didn't ask for ID or school information or the name of her foster placement. He just took off his jacket and draped it around her small shoulders, careful not to disturb the paper she still held in her hand. The rain had nearly dissolved it. She looked at him, eyes blinking hard, then whispered, "He found me. I was lost, and he found me." Jake didn't answer right away, but in his mind something old and painful stirred. Something with the name Ellie and a bench not too different from this one. Instead, he said softly, "Let's get you both somewhere warm." And as he stood and helped her up, Major rose too, silent, steady, and never more than a foot from her side. They crossed the street together, not a single soul watching. But the bench remained, and the rain kept falling. And for once it didn't feel like a sad ending. It felt like the beginning of something new. The rain hadn't stopped by the time Officer Jake Rylan pulled into the back lot of the Oak Ridge Police Department. It came down softer now, a steady whisper across the windshield, but the world still looked the way it had for days. Cold, gray, half asleep. He parked beneath the overhang, engine still humming, and looked sideways at the girl in the passenger seat. Sadie sat hunched under his jacket, her knees drawn tight to her chest, hair still damp and clinging to her forehead. Major rested in the rear seat, pressed close against the glass, watching the road behind them as if it might come back for her. Jake had taken in plenty of kids before. Not home with him, no. But during calls, runaways, curfews, family disputes. They were usually loud, angry, some were quiet, sure, but not like this. Not quiet like paper folding in on itself. Inside the station, the night shift desk sergeant glanced up with the expression of a man who'd seen enough long days to know when one had just started early. Jake gave him a slight nod and led Sadie and Major down the hallway, away from the holding rooms and interrogation lights toward the back lounge, a space mostly used for off-duty lunch breaks and reports that never made it into the system on time. It wasn't a place for children, but for now, it would do. He set out a blanket on the break room couch and placed a towel beneath it to soak the water. Sadie sat, clutching her backpack as if it were the only thing tethering her to the world. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Major climbed up beside her uninvited, circled once and lay down across her legs, his massive frame curled like a shield. She loosened for the first time all night, her fingers threading into his fur with slow, cautious need. Jake stood back and stared. There was something almost surgical about the way the dog watched her, the kind of protective awareness that didn't come from training alone, but from a choice. Conscious, measured, and unmistakable. He'd seen dogs loyal to handlers. He'd seen dogs obey out of habit. But this was different. This was grief, finding grief and choosing to stay. He made a quiet call to an old contact at Child Services. Marla Jennings answered on the second ring, her voice low and direct even past midnight. She was one of the few left in the system Jake actually trusted. Former military, now working emergency intake. He told her everything, the address in Sadie's hand, the family she'd left, the silent way she looked at the floor like it had betrayed her. Marla promised to check the records. While he waited, Jake brought a paper cup of hot cocoa into the room. Sadie blinked at it once, took it with both hands, and held it like it might disappear. She didn't sip, just held. The steam rose gently between them. An hour passed. Then his phone buzzed. Marla's voice was tighter now. Jake, the girl's placement file is clean on the surface. Too clean. But I ran her name against archived case notes. The family, fostering her? They've had 2 prior placements flagged for neglect. Both cases were closed early due to lack of evidence, but I dug into the attending officer's reports. The same address, the same excuses. One of the kids ended up in juvenile court 2 years later. Jake's jaw locked. He glanced at the girl on the couch, now curled against Major's side, her face half hidden beneath the blanket, her hands still gripping the empty cup like a life raft. "Let me keep her overnight," he said. "Just for tonight. She's safe here." Marla didn't argue. "But you'll need to file a temporary protective custody request by morning. Otherwise, the system takes her back." "I'll handle it." He hung up, slid the phone into his pocket, and returned to the room. Major looked up as he entered, eyes steady. Jake knelt and placed a small threadbare stuffed bear beside Sadie's elbow. A bear with fraying seams and one button eye, the only thing left from the toy chest he'd never gotten the heart to empty after the divorce. Sadie stirred. Her fingers reached for it, slowly, unsure. Then she tucked it beneath her chin. Hours later, the station had gone quiet. The hum of printers, the shuffle of boots, the static-laced radios, all faded into silence. Jake sat on the bench outside the break room, coat slung across his knees, eyes staring down the empty corridor. Rain traced lazy fingers down the windows. Behind the door, the sound of a soft whimper made him rise. He opened it just a crack. Sadie was twisting beneath the blanket, her voice caught in a dream, sharp and muffled. Jake stepped in, but before he could reach her, Major was already up. The dog placed his nose gently against her shoulder, then her hand. The girl stilled. Her breathing slowed. Her fingers curled tighter around the bear. Jake turned away. He didn't sleep that night. He hadn't in a long time. But something about the weight of the moment, the girl, the dog, the paper still drying in her backpack, it made the silence inside him feel less endless. At sunrise, the clouds broke just enough to let in a gray sliver of light through the blinds. Sadie woke slowly, blinking at the unfamiliar ceiling. When her eyes settled on Major beside her and the bear beneath her chin, she didn't cry. She just breathed. Jake handed her a granola bar and sat across from her. No clipboard, no questions, just the stillness of a man who'd once buried his own daughter and still found himself looking for her in places he didn't mean to. Sadie unwrapped the bar. She ate in silence. Major lay between them, tail gently thumping once against the tile. By the time the first officer clocked in, Jake had already filled out the first half of the emergency custody form. Not because he had to, but because something in him had already decided she wasn't going back. And neither was Major. The days that followed were quiet in the way only a deep emotional undertow can be. Silent on the surface, but full of ripples underneath. The Oak Ridge Police Department had never seen anything quite like it. A soaking wet little girl found crying at a bus stop, accompanied by a stray German shepherd who refused to leave her side, and an officer who took them both in without protocol. It was the kind of story small towns whispered about, but rarely saw up close. In the corner of Jake Ryland's apartment, a patchwork couch became Sadie Quinn's makeshift bed. She lay curled beneath a flannel blanket with a faded rocket ship design, one of the few remnants of Jake's own daughter's childhood. Next to her, as unmoving as a shadow painted on the wall, lay Major. His eyes never drifted far from her, even when sleep called. It was Marla Jennings who showed up the next morning, stepping through the threshold like a gust of cold wind in government boots. A former Marine turned Child Protective Services liaison, she had a stare that could quiet a room and a voice that wasted no syllables. She took one look at Sadie, still wrapped in the same wet jeans and overlong sweatshirt, and then another at Jake, arms folded like he was bracing for a hit. But it didn't come. "I read your report," she said, setting down a thick file. "I also read the one you didn't write." The look in her eyes said more than paperwork ever could. Jake said nothing, just gestured to the coffee pot and pulled a second mug from the cabinet. They spoke little while Sadie remained asleep, her breathing shallow and cautious, like someone who had trained herself not to dream. Marla leaned in after her second sip. "Her current foster family? I did some digging. You were right to raise flags." She opened the file and tapped 2 lines underlined in red ink. They had 2 prior child placements quietly removed 3 years ago. It was sealed, but I have friends. Jake's grip on the mug tightened. Neglect? More than that. Emotional isolation. One case reported food deprivation. Nothing conclusive, of course, but patterns speak. Outside the apartment window, rain traced lazy paths down the glass, Oak Ridge's overcast skies painting everything in shades of steel. Inside, the room held a gravity of its own. 2 adults trading truths while a child slept beside a dog who refused to let her be alone again. By afternoon, Jake had submitted an emergency custody petition. Temporarily, he told himself. Just until something better presented itself. Just until a system with more answers came calling. But as the day faded and Sadie quietly pulled Major's face into the crook of her arm, whispering something only he could hear, Jake knew the lie he was telling himself wouldn't hold. Later that evening, after a dinner made from whatever Jake could cobble together from old cans and a box of mac and cheese, Sadie began to speak. Not with words, not fully, but with presence. She sat at the table while Jake washed dishes. She offered to dry. She asked, barely above a whisper, if Major could have the last slice of toast. Then, as Jake handed her a crumpled dish towel, she said it. "He's not just a dog," she murmured, eyes still on the shepherd. "He's where I go when the dark shows up." Jake paused mid-scrub, letting the hot water run over his fingers. Something about the way she said it cracked open a space he had long boarded up. He nodded once, slowly, then returned to the plates. That night, he found a sketch left on the table. A girl, a dog, and a house with a cracked chimney and flowers drawn like small bursts of hope. Below it, scribbled in a child's uncertain hand. "He found me when nobody else did." The next morning brought a knock at the door. Not Marla, not a bureaucrat, but Dr. Lee Fincher, a vet who had seen her share of broken animals and just as many broken people. She crouched next to Major with slow, respectful movement, letting the dog sniff her coat before placing a stethoscope to his chest. "You know," she said, glancing up at Jake as she examined the healing scar along Major's ribs. "Dogs like him. They pick someone once and it's for good. They don't switch teams." Jake gestured toward Sadie, sitting cross-legged in the hallway, watching the exam like it was sacred. Then he chose her. Lee smiled. He found her. That evening, while Sadie was drawing another picture of Major sitting in front of the old porch on Cypress Street, Jake sat with Marla on the stoop, drinking cold coffee and sharing slivers of their separate pasts. He told her about Ellie, his daughter, lost to a medication error and bureaucratic negligence at a hospital too slow to listen. He told her how he and Ellie used to walk past that very same bus stop on Cypress, how they always stopped to count squirrels on the way to preschool. Marla nodded slowly, eyes forward. "You think Sadie was sitting where Ellie once waited?" Jake didn't answer. He didn't need to. Silence has a way of confirming truths. Inside, Major stirred. Sadie had fallen asleep against his side, her crayon-streaked fingers still wrapped in the shepherd's thick fur. "She needs a place," Marla said quietly. "And if I'm reading this right, you need someone to need you back." Jake looked over his shoulder, toward the girl asleep with the dog who never once left her. He nodded, almost to himself. "She already does." And in that moment, in the middle of a small Oregon town tucked beneath silver clouds and pine-lined streets, something unspoken settled into place. Not a conclusion, but a promise. Major wouldn't leave. Jake wouldn't let go. And Sadie, she had finally been seen. It started with a surveillance clip. Grainy, gray-toned, time-stamped 6:42 p.m. The rain fell in soft waves, cars rushed past in blurs, and in the center of the frame, motionless on a slick concrete bench, was a German shepherd sitting beside a little girl. He didn't pace, didn't whine, didn't bark. He just sat, watching, guarding for nearly 4 hours. The footage made its way from a city worker's inbox to a sleepy news desk at Channel 8. By morning, it was clipped, narrated, and posted online under the title, "Dog Saves Girl Left Behind." It went viral before noon. In Oak Ridge, screens lit up with the image of Sadie and Major, tiny, soaked, and unforgettable. The community that had once walked past her without a glance now couldn't look away. Jake Ryland didn't own a smartphone. He found out from Marla, who burst into the precinct holding 2 paper cups of coffee and a look that said something big had happened. "You're trending," she said, setting the cups down like trophies. "And I don't mean just your dog. I mean her, I mean you." Jake squinted at her. "Trending?" Marla didn't answer, just handed over her tablet. The video was already past 1 million views, being reshared with captions like, "Proof dogs choose better than people," and "The silent loyalty we don't deserve." Jake watched the footage in silence, Sadie in her too big hoodie clutching her knees, and Major beside her like a statue built from patience. Later that afternoon, they received a visitor, Elise Moreno, reporter from the Portland Tribune. She was petite, fast-talking, and had eyes like she'd lived a few hundred lives in 30 years. "I don't do fluff," she said, scribbling as she walked through the department. "I do truth. And whatever this is, it matters." They sat her down in Jake's office, cleared the clutter, and Sadie curled up beside Major in the corner. Elise didn't ask the usual questions. She asked what color Sadie's socks were when Major found her. She asked what story Sadie remembered her grandmother reading. She asked why Jake hadn't walked away. Jake didn't answer that last one. He didn't need to. When Elise asked Sadie why she thought Major picked her, the girl hesitated, looking down at the dog whose head now rested on her lap. "Because I was waiting," Sadie whispered, "where his boy used to wait. That's what the lady next door said, the one who gave me the apple before I ran away." Elise blinked, caught off guard. "His boy?" Sadie nodded. "She said the man who had Major, he used to walk him past the bench every morning. They'd wait there. She said it was his favorite spot." No one spoke for a moment. It hit like a quiet thunderclap. Jake sat straighter, thinking back to the morning shift walks with Ellie. The ones they'd taken past Cypress and 6th, the squirrel counting, the tiny red backpack that bounced with each step. He hadn't realized it back then, but they'd passed the same bench, maybe even stopped there once or twice. Major must have been nearby on his own route, living his own routine. Two beings, Sadie and Major, both waiting in the same place for the same kind of love they had lost. And somehow, that spot called them back to each other. That evening, Elise uploaded her story, titled "The Girl, the Dog, and the Bench That Waited." Within hours, national outlets were calling. Good Morning Oregon requested a live interview. A children's book illustrator offered to collaborate. A nonprofit offered to fund therapy, housing, and even schooling if Jake chose to foster Sadie long-term. But none of it meant more than what happened in the grocery store 2 days later. Jake had taken Sadie and Major for a short errand. Just a cereal, milk, and maybe marshmallows if she looked up at him with those eyes again. As they passed the cereal aisle, a woman approached. She was older, worn at the edges but warm, with a grocery apron still damp from the frozen aisle. "You're her," she said, looking down at Sadie, "the girl from the video." Sadie shrank back instinctively, clutching Major's fur. Jake stepped closer, but the woman didn't reach out. She didn't lean in. She just knelt down slowly, resting on one knee. "I was a foster kid once," she said softly, "and if someone like him had found me, maybe things would have been different." Then she pulled a crumpled envelope from her pocket and pressed it into Jake's hand. "Use it for her school, or shoes, or just something small. Tell her she matters." Jake tried to refuse, but the woman was already walking away. That night, after dinner, Jake watched as Sadie colored at the table, drawing yet another version of Major in front of their building, this time with clouds shaped like hearts floating above them. On the page, Jake noticed, was also a small figure standing in the window, watching with a smile. "That's you," Sadie said when she noticed him staring. "The building used to look empty, now it doesn't." He said nothing, only nodded and turned to wash the dishes. Later, as Major curled beneath Sadie's blanket and Jake turned out the lights, he caught his own reflection in the apartment window. No longer hollow, no longer a man simply getting through the days. In the darkness, with the soft sound of Sadie's breath rising and falling beside the dog who found her, Jake realized something had taken root. Not charity, not obligation. Family. And it wasn't the kind you were born into. It was the kind you fight to keep. The letter came folded like a secret, creased and soft at the corners, smudged slightly from hands that had held it too long. Jake found it tucked beneath Sadie's pillow one morning as he gathered the sheets for laundry. At first glance, he thought it was a child's drawing, but when he unfolded it, he saw the words carefully printed in shaky pencil. Cypress and 6th, Grandma's house. My real home. That address, scribbled with hope, nearly washed away by the rain that night, was still the only anchor Sadie carried from her old life. She had folded it and hidden it like it might lead her back to a time when things made sense, when arms were familiar and goodbyes weren't permanent. Jake didn't mention it right away. He returned it to the pillow, exactly as he'd found it. But it stayed with him, the way some truths settle in your chest and never leave. Over the following days, their home transformed. The apartment, once lined with shadows and silence, now echoed with the sound of Sadie's humming and the soft thump of Major's paws trailing her from room to room. The old dog had claimed his spot near the window, where the light hit just right around noon. Sadie called it his sun chair and draped a tiny quilt across it, even though Major clearly preferred the bare fabric. Outside, the story was still spreading. Elise's book deal was confirmed, and she'd already sent over early sketches. The city council had scheduled a K-9 hero recognition ceremony for the following week, but the biggest change came with a call from Marla. "It's official," she said, her voice thick with quiet relief. "The judge signed the order this morning. You're Sadie's legal guardian now, Jake. Full custody." Jake sat on the back steps when the call ended, staring out at the small patch of garden he'd started behind the building. 2 tomato plants and a stubborn row of daffodils. He didn't cry, but something inside him shifted, like a door opening that had been shut for years. That evening, he made spaghetti. Sadie wore an apron 2 sizes too big, insisting on grating the cheese herself. She made a mess. Jake didn't stop her. Major snuck a few strands of pasta from the floor, tail wagging like he'd won the lottery. After dinner, Jake pulled a small wrapped box from the drawer. "What's that?" Sadie asked wide-eyed. "Something new," he said, "for where we're going." She opened it slowly. Inside was a key on a necklace chain, shaped like a tiny silver house. On the back, engraved in small letters, "Our own front door." Sadie ran her fingers across the words. "Is this for real?" Jake nodded. "For the house we've been approved for, out near Whispering Pines. Big porch, backyard for Major, and your own room. Thought maybe you'd help pick the paint color." Sadie didn't speak. Instead, she ran to her bag. The small one she'd carried that rainy day, now faded and threadbare. From the bottom, she pulled out the old paper, the one with the address. "I don't need this anymore," she whispered. "We have our own now." She walked to the trash can, paused, then looked at Jake. "Can I keep just a corner?" "So I don't forget." He knelt beside her. "You can keep whatever part you want. Just remember the best parts of it, they're already in here." He tapped her chest lightly. "You carry them." That weekend, at the K-9 Memorial Park, dozens gathered under crisp spring skies to honor Major. The mayor handed Jake a plaque. Sadie was asked to speak. She stood at the podium, holding Major's leash in one hand and the silver key necklace in the other. Her voice, though small, carried in the breeze. "When no one saw me, Major did. When I couldn't speak, he listened, and when I didn't know where home was, he waited for me. I think maybe he waited for someone too, and somehow we found each other. Not because anyone told him to, because love doesn't need directions." There wasn't a dry eye in the crowd. As the ceremony ended, Elise snapped a photo of Sadie sitting on the edge of the memorial fountain. Major curled at her feet, head tilted up toward her like he understood every word. It would later become the cover of her book, The Girl, the Dog, and the Rain. 2 weeks later, they moved into the new house. Jake spent his mornings repairing fence posts and learning how to grill without setting off the smoke alarm. Sadie planted daisies along the driveway. Major kept a close watch, his eyes always following the girl as if she might disappear again, even though she never strayed far. One evening, under the red glow of sunset, Jake watched as Sadie sat beside Major in the front yard. She pulled out a new piece of paper. This one had a crayon drawing, a little house with a bench outside, a girl, a man, and a dog standing beneath a tree. She held it up proudly. "This is the new bench," she said, the one that waits for happy things. Jake looked at the picture, then at her. Looks like it's already got them. As night fell, the porch light flicked on. Inside, a dinner table waited. Plates set, laughter ready. Outside, under a sky clear and unburdened, Sadie took the old scrap of paper from her pocket, the one she'd kept a corner of, and tucked it deep into a flower pot beside the porch. Not forgotten, just planted. Because this time, the address didn't matter. She was home.